Okay, so I do have, I'm going to share my screen here in a minute and go through everything that I have for, oh, excuse me, for this presentation. And I do have hopefully a good chunk of time at the end where I would love to just open it up for questions. You can be as specific as you want, whether it's like what strategy I would recommend, or if you're running ads or have ran ads and had some issues or anything like that. And so hopefully at the end, we can get some good time if you have any questions to really be more specific on your business. But I'm going to share my screen now. Okay. So I think you guys should be able to see that. Okay, so I wanted to start with just a little bit about me. I have been married for just over 11 years to my husband. We live in South Texas, so we live just north of Houston. I'm in San Antonio right now, so I'm in a hotel room right now. My husband has a conference here in San Antonio, so I kind of tagged along for a little work trip, but he's a pastor at our local church, and he's also a student. He's getting his PhD, so he's really busy. And then we have a 2 and a 4-year-old little boy in the picture here. I don't know if y'all can see, let me minimize that. There we go. Okay, so yeah, so it's pretty busy at home. I'm a stay-at-home mom, so I definitely do the working and momming dance that I'm sure many of you do too. But I love it. And I've had my business for over 4 years now. So I do Google and Meta ads. So I've worked with, at this point, so many different kinds of businesses in so many industries. It's been a lot of fun. And through that, I mainly offer done for you services, which means I do full Google or Meta ads management. But within that, I do different packages. Like if you wanted to work for a month or two and learn some things and then take it back over, that is great. We do kind of flexibility, kind of stuff like that. So it's just a little bit about me and my business. It will not, here we go. Okay, so then what you'll learn. So I just wanted to do an overview because I'm going to be covering a lot of stuff in this presentation. So this is just kind of what you can expect to learn from me today. You'll learn the basics of Meta as a platform and some ways you can advertise your business on it. Then you'll learn how to actually set up a campaign. So it's going to get a little bit techy, but you'll learn how to set your campaign up, choose your objective, build your audience, a little bit about ad copy and creative and things like that. We'll touch on what you should have in place before you run ads in order to really see success, which is going to be a really great clue for you as you think about your own business. Like, am I really ready for this? Am I in the place for this? Then I'm going to talk through a 2 to 3 campaign strategy that you can implement in Meta ads for your own business. It's pretty customizable, but it's, again, just as we're talking through this, just be thinking about your own business and your goals and where you're at, and it can be pretty easy to implement that. We're going to talk about after you go live with your ads. So what does it look like to optimize and manage your ads? And then I do have some bonus content where I want to touch on TikTok ads, Google ads, and Google Analytics 4. So the last two, Google Analytics 4 and Google ads, I work all the time in. I am not a TikTok ads manager. I know I could be, like, I took a course on it. I was going to offer TikTok ads and decided not to. And I'll kind of walk through that decision. And then when I recommend TikTok ads and when I don't recommend TikTok ads for businesses. So first up, just the basics of Meta. I am sure all of you are very familiar with this, but just in case, Meta is a relatively new name for Facebook and Instagram. Facebook did buy Instagram several years ago, and now they're Meta as both. And it gets a little confusing because the term Facebook ads is still thrown around a lot. But Meta is referring to Facebook and Instagram. You market, you advertise on both platforms through Facebook Ads Manager. So if you are wanting to run Instagram ads, you still use the Facebook Ads Manager. So that's where it gets a little confusing, but I'm just going to say Meta ads throughout this presentation. And that's what I'm talking about, Facebook and Instagram. On Meta, you pay per impression. So you pay per 1,000 impressions. So that means that when somebody sees your ad, even if they don't click on it or take an action, you will still pay for that. That's because it's a social platform. So we are getting tons of impressions as people are seeing your ads. And here's a little bit, this is kind of what I want you to start thinking about Meta as a platform. And then this is really going to help when you go to advertise on it, is users are on Meta to be social. This really goes for TikTok, for Snapchat, for Pinterest, really, anything that's like a social type platform. They're on there to be social. So they want to engage with their friends. They want to engage with business owners and brands and influencers that they follow. They like interaction. They like it when you respond to comments or their DMs and stuff like that. So if you're on, a lot of us with our businesses are on a social platform to build our business and to grow. And that's great. That's amazing. But if you're just treating it like I'm going to post and ghost, or I'm just going to run ads and just totally check out, that you may not have as much success on a social platform. So just kind of be thinking about that. It's when you're running Meta ads, it can be pretty passive, which is amazing, but it's still tied to your organic social platform. And I will get more into that. And then this is one of the things that I tell people, social platforms like Meta ads, it's something called disruption style marketing. What I just said about users being on the platform to be social, your ad is basically disrupting their feed because they're not looking for you. And this is mostly going for if you're advertising to a cold audience, they're not looking for you or searching for you. They might not be actively searching for your product or service in that moment. So you're basically having your ad pop up and disrupting their scroll, and which can be an amazing thing. Like you can come to them at the most ideal time and cause them to join your email list, purchase your product, whatever it is. But that's the thing, is because it's a disruptive style marketing, we want to be really careful about the creative and the ad copy. We want scroll stopping. We want really strong hooks, really engaging creative, because that is how you're going to get them to notice your ad. Because honestly, we all know, even though we're not on there to see ads, we all know we're going to see ads all the time. So how to use Meta for your business. There are so many ways that you can utilize Meta ads for your business. Audience growth, audience engagement, brand awareness. Brand awareness is like the number one. I mean, you're never going to find, not never, at the moment, you won't find a cheaper platform than Meta for brand awareness. Obviously, sales and lead generation, email list building, retargeting, event promotion. And then just think about mixing and matching these in a custom strategy. Like Meta is so incredible for business growth. So again, just be kind of thinking about how you would want to use Meta ads if you're interested. Okay, let's get into some of the techie stuff. So I'm sure you've heard of the Facebook Pixel. All it is a little piece of code you put on the back end of your website, and it tracks users' actions on your website. So whether that's add to cart, form submission, page view, things like that. But it also starts collecting audience buckets. So it's going to collect people, everybody who visits your website from anywhere. So if you have a Facebook Pixel on your page and you're driving traffic from multiple sources, like an email, like a newsletter, or Google ads, if you're running a different, anything else, and they're hitting your website, now they're in your retargeting audience on Facebook. So it's amazing. I always tell people, if you're not in a place where you want to advertise on Meta, but you think in the future it's a goal, or you think you will be soon, put the Facebook Pixel on your website immediately. Just do it, because it's going to start building your audience and you're not even doing anything. Like you don't have to spend any extra money. You just want to start collecting that user data. So Facebook Pixel, it's pretty easy to install it on your website. There's a lot of tutorials, YouTube tutorials out there, but then on the Facebook platform itself, sometimes it has like these easy connects that you can do. It's pretty easy. Once you have your Facebook Pixel installed on your website, you then want to go into the events manager. That's what this screenshot here is. And you want to use the event setup tool. This is an amazing tool to go into your website and set up all of your events. When I say events, I just mean whatever conversion action you are going to want to track, like purchase or a complete registration, a form submission, a lead, things like that. You can just set them all up using the event setup tool and test your events. You can see on this screenshot where it says test events, that's where you can put in your landing page or your website and go in and try all the actions and make sure that they're tracking. It's pretty easy. Occasionally there are some run-ins, but it really, I mean, you can Google the answers to things. It really is pretty easy to set up and set up all your events with the Facebook Pixel. Okay, so we're just going to talk through campaign structure. If you've never set up a Facebook ad, or if you have and you're not sure if you did it right, I just want to talk through a few things. So this screenshot here, this is right when you go to create a new campaign. This is the first thing you're going to see, and it's asking you to choose your event objective or your event goal. It used to be called goal. So you can see here all of the different objectives, and this Facebook really needs to know what your actual goal is here. So this is very important, is you cannot cheat or outsmart the Facebook algorithm and Facebook AI. It has so much very valuable user data that it's going to use to help you achieve whatever your objective is. So an example of this is the sales objective is the most expensive objective to use. It's pretty competitive, and if you're going to get sales, you're going to make an ROI faster than probably any of these other objectives. So therefore, it's a little more expensive. So people try to come up with these hacks, like use the traffic objective instead, because you're going to push all this traffic to your website. And when they get to your website's going to sell itself, right? And people are going to buy it. That's not true. It's not true, I promise. You're just going to waste your money. What's actually happening is Facebook has learned behaviors and patterns of its users, and there's a whole entire audience bucket of Facebook users that will just click on ads. So if you're optimizing for link clicks, they'll just click on it and click off, and they have no intention to do anything further after that. So if you want sales, if you want leads, if you want engagement, you need to make sure you're choosing the right objective here. My one tip here is I never ever recommend using the awareness objective. This is really just telling Facebook, I just want you to show my ad to anyone. I don't care if they do anything. I don't care if they engage with my ad. I don't care if they hit my website. I don't care if they buy. I just want awareness, like, which is just impressions. That's all it is. And here is the thing. Any Facebook ad objective that you choose, any Facebook ad you run, if it's not to a retargeting audience, so if it's not to a warm audience, you're already achieving brand awareness through any of these other objectives. So if you're running a sales campaign, you're optimizing for sales, but you're serving to a cold audience. So people are still seeing your company and your ad for the first time. That's still brand awareness. So if you really, really want brand awareness, I always incorporate an engagement campaign, which optimizes for post likes or comments and things like that, because that's going to help your organic Instagram engagement. I will touch on that later. So that would be my suggestion, because brand awareness is very important, and it's a huge important pillar for business growth, but just don't use the awareness objective. So other than that objective, pretty much whatever your goal is, I would make sure to choose the correct objective. Next, after you choose your objective, you're gonna go to the ad set. And this is where you set up your audience and your location. So I don't have a screenshot of the location, but that's pretty straightforward. You literally just put in, are you advertising in a specific city, a radius? You can do zip codes, you can do the entire US. So you just put in your location. Then you're going to build out your audience. So this part is what has changed a little bit. I'm sure you've heard of mentions of iOS 14, and when that all came out, users can opt out now of being tracked. So it makes targeting a little bit harder. So there are some instances where I recommend broad targeting or no targeting and just a location. But for the most part, for most of my clients, we're still setting up interest targeting, and it's still working beautifully. So some tips for this: an ideal audience size, even if you have $5 a day going on your ad, an ideal audience size is between 1 to 5 million people. This is including dead accounts or duplicate accounts and things like that. So it's not actually like 5 million people. How am I ever going to find the right people? Facebook, this is what I'm saying, is Facebook really knows. They know the behaviors of their users. So you want to give them you want to try to build out your audience as to an ideal size to give them enough juice to show your ads to the right people. Over to the right of this audience picture here, if you're in your Facebook ad account, you'll see as you're building your audience, the number is going to grow. So it'll tell you like approximately how big your audience is. So it should be pretty easy when you're in there building it out. Then you want to just think about when you're building your audience. You can do it based on interests, demographics, location. So if you want to serve to females only or male and female, if you have a specific age range that you want to hit, that's all great. And then when you go here to put in your interests, just try and get inside of your ideal customer's head. So what types of things might they be interested in? What are their pain points? What do they want or need? If you are a software company, like putting in other software, so competitors, because they might be interested in that, just kind of thinking through. And then if you get stuck right here where it says browse or suggestions, I always click suggestions because based on what you've already put in here, Facebook is going to come up with tons more ideas. And it kind of is like jumpstarts your brain. If you're having like a brain block or something, Facebook is going to say, oh, based on the information you've already given us, here's what we think your audience might also be interested in. And so it can be really helpful to use that. You can narrow your audience down even more. So you can say people interested in this, you can exclude certain interests, or you can say people interested in this and this. So like it's even more specific. I don't tend to get that specific when I'm starting out with a new campaign, but that's a tool you can use when you're optimizing. I already kind of touched on this, but broad is good, especially if you're local. So if you're local like if someone I was talking to just earlier had a construction company. So if you're local and your audience might just be homeowners, you might not want to put in any interests. You may want to just test just a specific city or something that you really want to get business in and just leave it open. So that has proven to be pretty successful. So you just think about like you're giving Facebook some signals and some nudges and some clues, but you don't want to restrict so much that they have a really tiny audience bucket to show. And then creative and ad copy. So I did kind of mention this, but the creative, which when I say creative, I'm talking about the image or the video that you use. The creative is your scroll stopper. So that's going to be the first thing typically that catches the attention of your audience. And this is always one of the first things that I test is creative. So when you're A/B testing, I typically will use like the same ad copy across the board, and then I'll test out different images and see which one gets more engagement or conversions. But yeah, you on your creative, you can put on there different hooks, like why you will love the vitamin. Okay, why? Like I want to know. So, and it's kind of like a question. You can call out your ideal audience on the creative. Like I'm sure you've seen those ads before. It can say like, hey ladies, or hey business owners, or like calling out your specific audience, calling out a specific problem or pain point. So just testing out different things like that in creative. What you're just thinking of is what's going to cause my ideal customer or my ideal client to stop their scroll. It's really going to capture their attention. And that's kind of where you want to go with your creative. And then, yeah, I kind of already touched on this, but thinking of your creative as part of your targeting. So if you're testing out a broad targeting, like no interest audience, you can still have targeting in your creative by calling out what your company is or what the pain point might be of your ideal customer. I've used this example before with people, but like if you're a fitness instructor, or like an online health coach or something, you can target almost anyone, right? But you can use your creative to call something out like, are you sick of trying to lose the same 5 pounds per year? Something like that, where it's like, you're kind of already talking to who you want to talk to in your creative, but you're giving Facebook a ton of room with your open audience. So for the ad copy, I always recommend testing out long and short form. So you've probably seen long kind of story-like ad copy before, and those usually perform really well. Especially if you're taking somebody through a journey in the ad copy, you just have to start out with a really strong hook. And here's a great example of a hook. Did you know that your body absorbs whole food nutrients better than synthetic nutrients? Like, okay, yeah, that's really interesting. I want to read more about that. Some people have like a lot of emojis in it. That's great too. So the hook just meaning that very first 1 to 2 sentences, it's going to capture the attention of your ideal customer. And then the headlines are also really important. This is the headline down here. It's in bold. And I think it's a maximum of 40 characters in Facebook ads. They might have expanded that recently, but you just like one really like attention drawing sentence. It's even better if it's some kind of call to action, like sign up now, limited time, or something like that. Okay. So before your ads go live, here are the things that you want to have in place to make sure that your campaigns can be as successful as possible. So number one, tracking and pixels. So even if you don't want to have a Facebook ads manager, or you just want to promote some existing Instagram posts, that's totally fine. But I still recommend you just set up that Facebook pixel on your website so that it can build and build your audience, because when you're ready to run ads or put a little bit more money behind your ads, Facebook is already going to have so much data from the Facebook pixel, and you're going to have a really large retargeting audience, which is also super helpful. And then if you're driving traffic to your website, make sure you have Google Analytics 4 set up. I am going to talk at the very end a little bit more about Google Analytics 4. I don't know if you've heard people mention it over this summer. It used to be Google Analytics Universal, and then they completely got rid of that, and now it's Google Analytics 4, and there was a ton of buzz around that. And I am going to kind of break that down a little bit and explain why you should absolutely have this set up on your website if you do not already. Number two, a mobile optimized website. This just means just make sure most people are on their phones on Facebook and Instagram. So just make sure that your website is mobile optimized. So it doesn't format all wonky, and there's not weird text blocks if somebody's on their mobile. This is very often something that small business owners accidentally overlook, because when you're building your website, you're on your desktop, and sometimes you forget to look at it on your mobile. Like you're always working on your computer. So it's really, really common. So just make sure you check that out on mobile and format it. Make sure that it's formatted so that people who are on their phones can easily read your website and it's not going to reformat on you. And then probably the last and most important thing is to make sure you know your goals so you can measure your success. So when I say goals, I just mean, okay, if you're going to run Facebook ads, what is your goal in running Facebook ads? If you're going to spend $500 a month, what are you optimizing for? What do you need to have that make sense for your business? And if it's just brand awareness, that's great, but you can still have some really solid goals attached to that, some growth goals or something. If you're doing sales, if you're optimizing for sales or leads, you need to really figure out what your cost per lead or your return on ad spend, your ROAS, needs to be for you to be profitable, for this all to make sense for you. So know your goals. If that feels overwhelming, there's a lot of kind of backward calculators. I have one too that you can use to help you figure that out, where it kind of takes into account your close rate, your break-even costs, your cost of goods, like depending on if you're e-commerce or service provider, to help you figure out where your numbers should be. Because yeah, it can be expensive to spend over and over and over again Google ads or Meta ads or anything, and you're not really sure if this is working or not. You don't know how to measure that. So just make sure that you have that figured out so you can have success going forward. Okay, so now I want to talk about a strategy for growth. So I mentioned that I was going to go over a strategy that you can take and implement into your business. I want to start by saying there really is no one and done, one size fits all winning strategy. Everything is so customizable. And honestly, this is a 3-campaign strategy, and all 3 campaigns may not make sense for you to run in your business. So just as I'm walking through this, be prepared to kind of tweak or change up some things depending on your business and depending on your goals and just where you're at in business. But I mean, I've seen so many ads out there like, use my Facebook ad strategy. It's the best, it's the only one you'll ever need. And that's just not true. Like it should all be very customizable. But I have tested a very similar strategy, this strategy slightly tweaked in various accounts across different industries. And this has proven to be a very cost-effective way for you to grow your audience. The focus with this strategy is email list building. So I'm going to say that off the bat. This is the main focus because your email list is like one of the most powerful tools you'll have in your business. So that is what this campaign is going to help you do. It's just about the most autopilot type of marketing you could do. Once you have this set up, it's not totally hands off. You do need to manage it, but for the most part, it's going to be the fastest and cheapest way you can grow your email list. So, which is just so powerful, your email list. So you can set this up in as little as $10 a day. That would be like the absolute minimum, which comes out to $300 a month. So pretty good if you're just trying to dabble into Facebook ads. The strategy is going to help you grow your audience, increase your engagement, build your email list, and retarget warm audiences for sales. And then, like I said, the budgets and campaigns are all flexible depending on your needs and your goals. So campaign 1, so this is going to be an engagement campaign, meaning you're going to choose the engagement objective in the campaign section. I recommend starting at $5 a day. Your goal will be post engagements. You click your goal in the ad set in Facebook Ads Manager. So in the ad set page, you'll click, it's going to ask you, what do you want to optimize for? Post engagements. So you're wanting people who may be interested in your product or service to engage on your post. That's liking, sharing, commenting, things like that. This was going to help build your retargeting audience because once they start engaging with your ads, that is engaging with your page. So they're going to fall into your retargeting audience. And it's going to help improve your organic social media because the next point here, I recommend using existing posts on your organic social media. That all of this engagement that you're going to be paying for on your Facebook ads is going to transfer over to your organic social media. So if you're using an existing post, an existing reel or something, and then you start to use that on Facebook ads, all of the likes, comments, shares, they're going to start showing up on your organic post. Does that make sense? Because it's the same exact post that you're using. It might sound a lot like boosting, and it's the same idea as boosting, but you have way more control using Facebook Ads Manager instead of the Instagram app to boost your posts. I pretty much never recommend boosting because if you're going to pay to boost your post, you really need to just get into Ads Manager and do it through there. You have so much more control in Ads Manager. Okay, so that's the first campaign, just engagement. Second campaign is a leads campaign. And I didn't mention this before. I'm going to go back quickly, but the audience that you'll want to use for your engagement campaign would be an interest audience, which is a cold audience. So the goal here is to show these ads to people who are not brand aware and do not know who you are. So it's expanding, it's growing your audience. This is also going to be a cold audience campaign. You can use the same audience you used for your engagement campaign. Likely, it will not be the same people seeing these ads because again, Facebook, you're going to choose the leads objective. Facebook is not, it's not the same people that Facebook's going to show the engagement objective and the leads objective to. There is probably going to be some overlap, but it will not be the identical audience, like the exact same people seeing both. So this is going to be your email list building campaign. So Meta Ads, like I said, such an affordable and such a fast way to build your email list basically on autopilot. So if you have an email list and you've been trying to add to it, maybe organically, maybe you have a freebie or something, you know how slowly that can happen. So literally the entire goal here is just emails, emails, emails. So your objective will be leads. Your goal will be leads as well. You'll need some kind of incentive or offer or freebie or something to get your audience to want to join your email list. And the most effective lead magnets offer something valuable to your audience that will solve a specific problem that they have now. And I didn't put this, but it'll solve a problem they have now while also leaving a gap for your main offer. So an example of this, going back to the fitness, I mentioned like a fitness coach. If your freebie or your lead magnet is something like calculate your perfect macro split, for example, something like that. Okay, great. They can get that freebie. They can do that themselves, but then what? Like they still need a coach. They still need that guidance and that accountability. So now you've given them something really valuable, something completely for free that they can use right away and go, oh, okay, great. Now what am I supposed to do? Like, okay, what kind of food do I eat? Oh, right. So that it provides value to them, solves a problem they might have. They might have been wondering, how many calories do I eat a day? I don't know. But then you also leave this gap that your offer can perfectly fill. So that would be like a really great ideal lead magnet. And then we're going to drive traffic to a specific landing page to download that freebie. So once they hit that landing page, usually it's the same URL as your website. So again, they're in your retargeting audience. So you can kind of get the sense of how all of this is stacking and snowballing and building your audience. Ideally, they get their product right away. I haven't had really many issues with this. Just occasionally people will tell me that they manually send out lead magnets, and I just don't recommend that. Try to get some sequences set up and make sure that the second that they sign up for it, they get their product right away, because you'd be shocked at how fast they would forget you if they don't get it right away. Okay, and then the last campaign is a retargeting campaign. It's a sales campaign. So this is going to be, like I said, the most expensive objective on Facebook, but we are only serving to a warm audience. And this is the warm audience that we're growing and growing and growing through these two other campaigns. So it's going to be website visitors and social page engagers. So your Facebook and Instagram page, and then website visitors. And you can choose on Facebook, when you're creating these custom audiences, you can choose the window of time. So Facebook, website users within the last 30 days or 14 days or 60 days. It just kind of depends on your business and your sales cycle. If you're unsure, I feel like 30 days is pretty safe, but you can expand it, or you can tighten that window if you want. But people will fall in and out of your retargeting audience all the time. Like it's always changing, because if you have these other campaigns running too, or if you're driving traffic in any way to your website. So again, even if you're running Google ads, for example, and they hit your website on Google, and then they get off Google and they go on their Instagram, and they'll see your ad. So that's kind of like, that's the idea of the retargeting. Your objective will be sales with a purchase goal. You'll set up your audience, like I said, to be people who visited your website and your Facebook and Instagram. The budget is actually going to depend on the audience size and the frequency on your ads. I generally recommend $2 to $5 a day, depending on the size. I want to touch on frequency. When I say that, frequency is just how often somebody sees your ads. It's impressions divided by reach, I believe. So reach is the number of unique individuals who've seen your ads, and impressions is the number of times your ad has been seen. So an example of this is maybe your reach was 10 people, but your impressions was 20. So you would have a frequency of 2, meaning that the average person saw your ad about 2 times, if that makes sense. So we really want to see in a retargeting campaign, we really want to see the frequency at like a 4 to 5 or less. We don't want to annoy your audience and have them just seeing your ad every single time they open their app. But the whole idea is top of mind, brand awareness, like you want to stay in front of them. So like a 4 to 5 is a really good frequency for a retargeting campaign. Okay, so that was the strategy. So then after you go live, optimizing your ads. So I say give your ads about 48 hours to run without making any major adjustments. We just want to give your ads a second to start running, start spending some money, get some impressions, get some clicks or engagement or landing page views, whatever it is that you're going for. There is the 7-day attribution window on Facebook. This is across the board in every single Facebook account, but it's important to know that there's a 7-day attribution window. All this means is if someone sees your ad and clicks on it on day 1, and then they maybe sit on your page or they exit out, but then they go back a different way and they buy or they convert before day 7, Facebook is going to attribute that conversion all the way back to day 1, to when they first clicked. So I say that because sometimes you can run your ads for a couple days and you might shut them off, but you may still have generated some results down the road or something, but you won't see those reported right away. So there's a bit of a delay. I don't know if that makes sense. Attribution is a sticky thing to figure out. And it's confusing because like you can check your ads one day, check them again the next day, and it like looks totally different. So if you have questions at the end on attribution, please let me know, because yeah, it can be confusing. After 48 hours, you can decide if you want to turn off the losing ad based on your KPI and performance goals. So I would always suggest you start out with at least 2 ads. You can do 2 to 3 to 4 ads if you want. But hopefully you are A/B testing some things, because you're paying to get your business out. You're essentially paying for data. So let's try and like do the most with your money, and figure out what kind of messaging do your people respond to? What kind of creative are they responding to? What kind of offers do they like? If you're testing different freebies, what are they opting in more to? Things like that. So if you are doing some A/B testing, I say after about 48 hours, that's a good time. Not every 48 hours, but just initially, like give it a couple of days, and then you can decide if you want to turn something off. And then you can set your metric columns in place to monitor your results. So right under where it says ads here, there's this little drop-down menu. It has like 3 bars. That is where you can customize your columns. You can add in any metrics you want to track. Like you could add link clicks, click-through rate, cost per click, landing page views, impressions, reach, frequency. Like they're all in this. If you were to click, I should have had a screenshot of that. If you click into this metrics column, they're all in this metric column, and you just customize your own. You set it up and save it as a preset. And then you can easily, every time you get into Facebook ads, you can easily pull up the metrics you want to track. So it just makes reading your ads really easy. Okay, I want to chat about the learning phase. I don't know if you've heard of the learning phase, but everyone kind of has really strong opinions on the learning phase. So all this is where Facebook is trying to learn your campaign, your ad set, or your ad, and it's trying to use its algorithm to push it into what's called the active phase. This terminology is a little bit confusing because when you're in the learning phase, your ads are still active and they're still serving, and you're likely still generating results. So all it means is that Facebook is trying to exit this learning phase and push you into where it's optimized and it's serving well. So you need 50 events to exit the learning phase. So an engagement campaign is going to exit the learning phase very fast, like very fast within a few days, because it only needs 50 engagement events, like likes, comments, something like that, in order to exit. And you will get those so fast on Facebook ads. So it's going to exit that immediately. sales leads, that's going to take a long time. Like think about 50 sales within a month or 50 leads. Like it's definitely possible. Like it's not impossible. But if you're going for sales and you see that your campaign is stuck in the learning phase, honestly, I would not worry about it. I would honestly ignore the learning phase and I would pay more attention to your goals and your KPIs, like we've talked about. And then take into account like more of context. If you're in a retargeting campaign that's optimizing for sales, it's really unlikely that you have a big enough audience that you're getting 50 sales a month with in order to exit the learning phase. So are you getting enough sales and generating enough purchase value to have a positive ROI? Cool, then you're good. That is my advice on the learning phase. I pay attention to it as an ads manager. I do pay attention to it, and you can be really strategic about exiting it. But just know that your campaigns are still working when you're not in the learning phase. It's just one of those things Facebook wants to get you out of the learning phase quickly. I really would not stress about that, especially not in the beginning, and especially not if your budget's lower. Okay, you're done. So some things I wanted to remind you of. I kind of said this in the beginning, but you may craft the perfect strategy, feel like you have the winning audience, your funnel is in place, your website is optimized, you worked really hard on your ad copy and your creative, and then you launch everything and you get no leads or you get no opt-ins, no sales. Do not take it personally. This is probably the hardest part of running your own ads. I know how that feels because it's you've put so much into your business and it's hard not to take it personally. But this is the whole idea of any kind of paid marketing is you just got to test everything. I even sometimes start out ads and I'm so confident. And then I'm like, okay, people are not responding to this. Like, I don't know why, but now we need to break it down, start testing, start turning things off, take action fast. But just don't take it personally and don't be discouraged, especially in the beginning. It's very normal to have flops. I mean, full transparency, I work with like 7-figure businesses. They still have launches that flop and they still have ads that don't do nearly as well as they were expecting. This is totally normal. Meta ads, like I said, it's all about testing. So we want to work with, when you're working with cold audiences, you really need to be open and flexible to testing different audiences and messaging points and things like that. Because again, like you can work so hard on your ads and getting everything perfect, but these are people who have never seen you before, never heard of you. So it's a really great opportunity to work on your messaging, how you're targeting your people, what you're saying, how you're communicating your offer, how you're speaking to them, things like that. All things you can test, and it's really going to help your overall business because you can take those learnings into your organic strategy as well. And the data you collect from paid ads will be invaluable to you. I say this to people all the time, but if you're running paid ads, especially if you've got these like Google Analytics, the Facebook Pixel set up in place, and then even on the back end, this can help improve your website. We can see like in Google Analytics, for example, you can see where people are dropping off, how long they're spending on certain pages. You're going to just have so much traffic coming in. It's really going to help your other marketing channels that you might be advertising on. So it's really valuable. It's not just like a one-track thing. It can really improve your overall marketing strategy depending on how many channels you have running. Okay. So really quickly, I feel like I've been talking for so long. I have a couple of things I wanted to touch on. So number one, TikTok ads. So I get asked about TikTok ads all the time. And I almost started managing TikTok ads, but I don't think I want to get into that quite yet. So according to TikTok, and this is the beginning of 2023, so we do expect this to change. Their minimum ad spend that they recommended is $50 a day. Which only comes out to $1,500 a month if you're doing the math. So if you're like, those numbers don't add up, $5,000 a month, so the minimum is $50 a day. They recommend $5,000 a month as like, you're going to be okay type of an ad spend. So that's the differences between those two is like, you don't even bother with TikTok if you have less than $50 a day, but you really should have more than that. in 2022, it was it was $25,000 a month. So it's already getting better. It's already coming down. And I expect TikTok to get more like easier for small businesses to get into. And we're just not quite there yet. So TikTok ads is still very, very new. It had explosive growth, which is amazing. But one thing about data is data needs time. Like it doesn't even matter how many users you have on, you need time to collect that data. And then also for the algorithm on TikTok to learn fast enough compared to Meta. Meta, like I just talked about all those objectives that Meta knows how to go after specific people. TikTok is not there yet. Here is the deal with TikTok ads. It works the best for brands and businesses that have very broad audiences. There you have interest targeting available in TikTok ads, but it is not as, what's the word? It's not as advanced as it is in Meta. Meta, you can literally target people who are admins of Instagram business pages, are new parents of 6-month and under babies, are like, it's so specific on Meta ads. And you don't have that option yet on TikTok. I say yet, I do anticipate this is all going to come eventually, but it's very new. So it works best if you have a very broad audience. And with you don't need a lot of targeting options. And then you absolutely need TikTok creative. So Facebook Meta ads, it's a lot easier. We can use GIFs and graphics. Graphics actually are performing the best on Meta at the moment, like even over video. But you can test out a lot of different forms of creative on Meta. But on TikTok, you need TikTok style content and you need a ton of it. So there's a lot of creative testing. And the biggest reason that I haven't gotten into TikTok ads is I simply do not have the bandwidth to keep up with what I know you need to be successful in TikTok ads. And I find that a lot of small businesses can't quite keep up with that yet either. Again, it just kind of depends. I don't know. You may have the budget where you can hire this out. You can hire influencers maybe, but for most small businesses that I work with, that's just not really an option. So in my opinion, your money is much better spent growing on Meta. TikTok is great for organic. They are going through some major shifts right now. They've recently introduced TikTok Shop, and most people don't know this, but that has completely shifted the algorithm on TikTok. Now TikTok is trying to learn the shopping behaviors where it didn't have that before. And so if you are a TikTok user and you've noticed that maybe you don't see the same creators, your follow page looks different, or you feel like it's a little bit jumbled up, that's because they're trying to rework the algorithm right now to account for this new behavior that they're trying to learn. So a lot going on TikTok. It's great for organic. I always tell people, if you have the bandwidth, get your company on TikTok organically. But I don't recommend ads at the moment. Okay, Google Ads. I do manage Google Ads. And I want to touch on the differences between Google and Meta and just get you thinking if you have ever ran Google Ads or consider Google Ads. Google is a search engine, so totally different than Meta. That's a social platform. People are actually on Google actively looking for a solution to their problem or a specific service or a product. So that is not the case typically on a social platform. That's why it's disruption style marketing. This is a search engine. So Google is pay per click. It's not pay per impression. So you will only pay when somebody clicks on your ads, and your cost is dependent on how much your keywords are. Your keywords can be anywhere from $1 to $100. I mean, they can be all over the map. It completely depends on your industry. I have worked with such a variety of industries on Google Ads. So I've seen it like 50 cents a click to like literally $120 a click. But if your keywords are really, really expensive, that probably means you're in a very high ticket industry, like attorney or something like that, where it makes the service that you're offering totally makes sense to pay that much. The ROI is there. It makes sense. So, Google is best for anyone who has a business or product that people are searching for. I generally don't recommend Google Ads for coaches or course creators. Your course creators do so much better on Meta ads. So just think about, like, are people looking for my service? Are they looking for my product? Yeah, you're going to do great on Google. So, Okay, and the last slide, this is Google Analytics 4. I just wanted to touch on this. So Google Analytics, if you're not familiar, this is a service that enables you to measure traffic and engagement across your website. So it's behaviors and patterns, things like that. It is completely free and you own 100% of this data. You can track very valuable marketing and user trends within the platform that go way beyond what your website can track. And I say that because I do get pushback from people like, oh, I don't need to do this. Shopify or Squarespace already tells me, you know, how many users I have and where they're from. And yes, they do, but it is 20 times more than what Google Analytics 4 can do. They can tell you where people are dropping out of your funnel, scroll time, like, oh, they scrolled on this page, they scrolled halfway down, or they scrolled all the way down. Page view, how many pages they visited. So you can set up audiences like people who visited 2 pages or more on my website, or 3 or more on my website, really specific demographics. There's so many different things that Google Analytics 4 can enlighten you about your business. So if you're doing paid traffic, especially, but really if you're just a business, you need to set up and install Google Analytics 4 on your website. You can create custom audiences based on those behaviors, and then you can use them in your marketing efforts. So I do this all the time with Google Ads, as I create a bunch of custom audiences in Google Analytics 4. Those get imported into Google Ads, and then we layer them into our search or shopping campaigns, whatever the service is. But I wanted to just say, a lot of people, once you set up Google Analytics 4, the data sometimes doesn't flow through. It's because you have to go in and set up all of these unique events. You do have to set up your custom dashboards. So it can be a little bit of a process. This is a service that I offer as like a one-time project. If you're not sure how to set this up, if you don't want to, if you don't have time to, I strongly encourage you to either try to figure it out. It's not, I mean, you can Google it or you can YouTube it, or you can talk to me after, and I can help you get this set up on your website, because it is like a one and done. Once you do it, the data is going to flow in and you have it. So even if you don't do anything right away with it, it's always going to be there. And if you hire like a full-on agency or a marketing partner or something down the road, they're going to be so glad that you had this set up. It's just going to like 10 times your efforts. So I think, yes, that is all. So let me see. Okay. I hope we have some time for questions. I know I talked a lot.
That was incredible. Anybody have any questions that they'd like to start with? Not all at once.
It's probably like drinking from a fire hose. Like, I know I that was a lot that I shot at you. So
that was so helpful. I was like taking notes and screenshots.
good.
Probably watch the recording again. So thank you. I'll share that I didn't know about Facebook Pixel. So that's not on our website. And that was just right out of the gates, like super valuable. And one question I have is like, I notice when I see ads, sometimes like on Facebook, they then take you back to somebody's Instagram page. Like the company doesn't even have a Facebook page. They're just putting all their, you know, more organic posts and advertising through Instagram, but it still shows up on Facebook. Is that okay to do? Or should those companies also have a Facebook platform?
It's best practice if you have both, if you have a Facebook and Instagram page, but you do not need to have an active Facebook page, and you don't need to do anything with it. But it's going to help you with audiences, because you'll be surprised, like people will go to your Facebook page and if you try to, and if you don't have one, they might not even try to find you on Instagram, or vice versa. So I tell people, because there's a lot of people that are like, my audience is not on Facebook. Like, I don't need a Facebook page, or vice versa. They're not on Instagram. Still have both pages set up. You don't need to be actively promoting yourself and doing a lot with either page. But if you just have it set up and connected, that's actually going to help your ads on Facebook Business Manager. But you're right. You can do that with one or the other.
Okay.
Yeah, it was really helpful. Also learned a ton right from the beginning. And yeah, I had some of those things where I was like, oh yeah, we did that wrong. But one question I had, and I think it's probably really hard to answer without knowing more, is like, do you have kind of a recommendation for how long you would tell someone to leave ads up? Because I hear that it like takes a lot of time and um yeah, I know that's
Yeah.
probably hard without knowing like size of the business and stuff, but
No, that's a great question. Do you mean specifically like the ads, or do you mean like how long you should try advertising on Facebook before just like shutting it all off?
I don't think we would ever shut it all off, but
Okay.
yeah, like we're still just at the stage where we launched in like September and it's apparel business. And so still at the stage where we're like trying to find out how much to spend really too. So it's like until we really know like what's working, then
Yeah.
but also don't want to like we did kind of run them for like a month and then we're like, wow, we're spending so much money. So then just shut them off. But then not really much happens in a month. So
Yes.
I don't know.
Okay. I have a couple of things to say about that. So generally it takes, and this is any platform, Google or Meta or TikTok, any platform, there's the 3-month learning period. So if you're brand new, like you just launched in September, you're gonna want to mentally prepare yourself for about 3 months of actively running ads, and testing through things in order to start hitting your ROAS goals, whatever goals you have. That being said, within those 3 months, some things to keep in mind. Number one, you do want to be testing, like I talked about, A/B testing. Probably for apparel, the most important thing you'll want to test is different creative, like images and videos and reels, testimonials, reviews, UGC content, like just different types of creative to see what your audience is responding to. And as far as when to shut off an ad when it's not working, you can watch ad fatigue when the performance starts to go down. If the frequency goes up, if the link, like if the clicks kind of drop, if the landing page views drop, obviously if you're getting purchases, if those start to drop off, that's a really good sign of ad fatigue. Just go ahead and shut that ad off and try to publish a new ad. And then as far as budgeting, I would start with I don't know what you're spending, so I could be totally off base here. Are you using the sales objective?
What's sales?
Like, if you're running a sales campaign, is it a sales campaign on Facebook? Are you optimizing for sales, or are you doing like a traffic or engagement?
Yeah, there's a sales one and a traffic one, I believe.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So, with sales, with those two campaigns, I would recommend, if you could, to try and stick with like a $500 a month budget. If you're not, I would add in a retargeting campaign. Like I kind of touched on a retargeting campaign. And for the traffic, you have an Instagram page.
Yeah.
I would maybe switch out the traffic campaign for the engagement campaign. So what I would maybe test is a engagement campaign. I would test a cold sales campaign and then a retargeting sales campaign. So you have 2 sales campaigns. If you don't want to do all of that, you can just do the 2 sales campaigns.
Okay.
Like cold and then retargeting. And then I would start with $500 a month, and I would only increase budget by about 10 to 20% every 4 to 5 days if you want to scale. You don't want to like double your budget or cut your budget in half. That's really going to Facebook is going to have a really hard time knowing how to start to push your ads out. And if you completely turn all your ads off, like you shut them all off, even if it's just for a day, you have now reset your ads completely. So what I would recommend is just lowering, like tapering the budget off over like a 48-hour period. Just start to like drop it down so that it doesn't, if you want to really, really scale things back, if you drop it down to like $2 or $3 a day, that process is going to help your ads like stay active. You're not going to lose all the learnings, but it will help you scale, and it will help you figure out how to test things. So I don't know if that budget like makes sense. Or if it's
no, that's super helpful actually. Yeah. Cause we're just like, guessing.
Yeah, I know.
I mean-
It sucks. It really sucks to guess. Like when you're spending money, you're like, I don't know, but I wouldn't probably do the traffic objective in your situation. I would either do engagement or just sales, just straight up sales.
Straight up
That's
sales,
even if
yeah.
you did one campaign and it was just cold audience, like interest targeting, just sales. I would just work on that one and just see what kind of creative they're responding to.
Nice. Thanks. That's super helpful. And then I did have a question too around like timing of holiday, because I've heard that that's also like stuff gets more, or it's not even that it gets more expensive. Maybe it just, you're spending the same amount of money, but it sees less eyeballs in holiday just because more people are spending money. Is that true?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Their holidays, like everyone's got a Black Friday sale. They've already, most of them have already started. Like, I don't know if y'all felt that too. Like everyone started their special.
I know. You're like, it's basically October. What?
No, for real. No, I just did a whole Black Friday campaign in middle of October. Like I feel like it gets earlier and earlier. So that is true. It's not that it gets more expensive. It just gets like the space is really cluttered. And honestly, all I would keep in mind is that this time of year, like especially like this week, last week and this week, if you've noticed a decline in sales, it's because people are waiting to buy because they know next weekend all the sales are going to be up. So that is super normal. We're seeing that everywhere. Like everyone's holding back. And there's also like, there's a lot of research based around the psychological overwhelm of like decision making, and there's all these sales, which one do I do? And so that kind of plays more into it. It's mostly just like competitive. So if you're asking like, should I shut my ads off? If you already have, you can just keep them off. Otherwise, it's not going to hurt you. Do you have an offer, like a special that you're going to come out with for Black Friday?
Yeah, not like a sale or anything, but a free hat.
Okay. Yeah. Well, so just keep your ads going and market that. And that your most profitable audience is typically your warm audience, like your retargeting audience. So you can create that in the audience section in Facebook ads under the custom audiences. If you haven't already, and just create your retargeting audience and show your offer to them. Definitely, I mean, you can do it to your cold audience too. Cold just being like the interest base who have not heard of you, but your warm audience is typically going to be the most lucrative audience you have.
Okay. Yeah, that's really helpful. Thanks. It's great. You explained everything really well too. Like I've had a friend helping me and I don't know what's going on sometimes. So thank you for explaining it really nice.
Good. I'm glad. The slides help keep me on track. Otherwise, I can't.
Any other questions from any of you ladies?
Do we have time for one more question, Elise? So I'm wondering, Lindsay, like there's obviously like apparel or actually like tangible items that are being purchased. Sales campaigns seem very appropriate for, and then like Meta knows when a purchase has been made. What about like services, or like you said, you have some construction company clients, like how do the dots connect of like when someone is becoming a buyer? Because, you know, they may find you through these ads, but then months could go by before they, you know, you do a job for them. Like, what do you recommend with that situation? Is it more about engagement and retargeting, and then?
Yeah, no, that is a great question. So the one thing about Meta ads, and this is important for service providers, is that you can't target based on timing on Meta. So for example, like I do have a construction client and they are on Google Ads and they have great success on Google Ads because we can target more based on intent and timing. If somebody is looking for a driveway crack repair near me, like that's pretty high intent of I need this service and I need it in my location like very soon. Like I'm shopping around, I'm getting quotes. So Google is going to be the place where you can rely a little more consistently on client on leads who are ready faster for a business like yours, for service provider typically. And it kind of depends on the service provider, but with a construction company, like those people usually have more of a plan. I'm not sure you said, oh, you did say what your, it's cabins, right? Cabins?
That's part of it. Yeah. I mean, it's general construction contracting,
Yeah.
but then we also have like, it's becoming a separate business, but it's like tiny homes that are log
Okay.
cabins,
That's what you had said.
which are
That's
like a product we're selling, but I don't know
Okay.
how to do ad spend for it. If like a cabin costs $85,000, how
Yeah.
much should we like spend on advertising?
Well, oh yeah, no, that's a great question. Like figuring out your ROI so for the construction company, I feel like you'll have a little more success on Google. On Meta, I would probably focus on exactly what you said. I would focus on an engagement campaign, and then a retargeting leads campaign. So not a sales, because I'm guessing your sales process is submit a form submission, you guys reach out to them. And okay, so you'll want to do a leads campaign then. So kind of the same strategy we're talking through here with the sales, but you're using the leads objective. And the retargeting audience is going to have those people who Googled you and found you, and then they jump off Google and they go to Instagram or Facebook, and there you are again. So like that is kind of how the dots connect. And as far as the tiny homes one, where you said like, I mean, you're in a high ticket industry really for both sides of your company. So both of those could really benefit from staying top of mind with people who have interacted with you, aka retargeting campaigns for both of them, I would say. And you can use any objective for retargeting, by the way. I think leads and sales make the most sense, but you can retarget on engagement if you want to, like that's fine, or traffic or something like there, I just find that it makes the most sense to retarget based on sales or leads. But for both of your companies, I feel like you might want to explore Google if you haven't yet. But on Meta, I would think about like using Meta for brand awareness and staying top of mind with people who have shown interest.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Great questions. Allison, I know you might be in transit right now. Do you have any questions if you're still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah, just in transit. No questions for now. Thank you.
Awesome. I guess my question that I'll ask super quick. So for Sky Oro, we have a product or a product, the co-working aspect that people are searching for co-working. And this has been so reassuring that there is a place to advertise on both sides, because people are always like, oh, I found your co-working space and I'm so thrilled to also learn about the community aspect and that being the membership. And then I have a lot of people who are like, well, I don't even need the co-working. I just want the community, but they're not Googling, they're not like looking for the co-working or the community part of it. They don't know that they want it or need it. So that disruptive marketing feels great. But so it sounds like they can work really seamlessly together. And I know, like, I'm working with you, and as you were going through this, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I don't have to worry about all of these things. There's so much. What else, I guess, what does it look like to also add on the Google Ads part of it? That feels like the co-working, the route to go for the co-working.
Yeah, you're 100% right. They work together so well because they're different types of marketing. Like we have the search engine on Google, and then we have like the social ads, the fun ads, on Meta. And I don't even know if I said this, but you can remarket on Google too. So if somebody sees your Facebook ad and interacts with you, they are in your remarketing ad on Google. So it is like a whole entire cycle. It's awesome. But for Google, for your co-working space, the one that is in person, that is perfect on Google. Like you target a really specific location. It's all keyword based. So it's like co-working space for women, co-working space, Bozeman, like whatever. I have ran ads for a co-working space. They're based in Minneapolis, and on Google. And it was just like an in-person, didn't have any virtual aspect, and it did great. Like they had, I think they had like a free day pass to kind of get people in the door, and then they just built their membership in the in-person co-working space. The membership would not, you're exactly right, would not do well, would not make any sense to put that on Google, because it's kind of like a course in that way. Memberships and courses, people might not know that this solution to their problem exists. They don't know how to search for it. I need community. I want something with events. I want something with relationships and opportunities. How do they know how to Google for something like that? So that's why Meta makes so much sense for the membership. But as far as the actual, like, I just need a place, I just want a co-working space. Like that's on Google, right? Like they pretty much, there is a search volume for that. And if there's a search volume, then you would do good on Google for that. So I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah. My follow-up is, because Bozeman's so small, we actually are ranked like one or two, we oscillate. Do you think it makes sense to run ads for it? Because I still have conversations with people who are like, yeah, I've been searching and Googling, and like, I know when you Google it, Sky Oro comes up, but people still don't like find it, I guess. So that doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but it also kind of does. Like maybe they're not paying attention, or they're distracted or whatever. But
if you're ranked number 1 on Google, the only reason you wouldn't be showing up for certain people would be an SEO thing and a location thing. So if I know Bozeman's pretty small. So if you have people that are outside a certain radius, then depending on what you're doing with your SEO, you won't show up for those people. So you can target, you can expand that targeting via Google Ads and SEO. Like you can work on that with SEO. SEO is just a long game. SEO is great. I don't know if you have an SEO person. I love, like, it's great. But it's a long game. So you kind of skip that with Google. But I always tell people, like, work on both, because eventually you'll get there with SEO. But that's probably what is happening, is it's a location thing, or a demographic or a keyword thing. Maybe, like, again, SEO, it's kind of hard. Like you could rank number 1, but there's some other variables, like what are you ranking exactly for? Is it just co-working? And then where are those people? Are they coming from, like, I don't know, outside of a certain radius of Bozeman? Does that make sense?
Yep.
So it might not make sense to run ads. You can test it, and if you see like an increase in form submissions, there's also branded versus non-branded on Google. So if you ran Google Ads, I always set up a branded and a non-branded campaign for people. So we know if you're getting conversions, are they searching for Sky Oro, or are these new people searching for co-working space who don't know who you are? Because that's what we want to pay for on Google. We don't want to pay for branded. So you can get a good idea of, like, okay, this is not, I'm ranking really high, I'm good, I don't need Google Ads, or yes, this is working, this is growing, people are finding me that otherwise wouldn't know who I am. So yeah.
Okay. Lots to consider there. Let's put it in that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Any other questions that have popped up? No?
I don't think so. Thank you.
So
Yeah,
Lindsay, tell us
fun.
where we can find you. Tell us where we can find you, best way to reach you. And then I'll share all of that out with our community after we have this recording all wrapped up.
Yeah. So you can DM me. I don't post very often, but I am always in my DMs on Instagram. My Instagram is Wolf Digital Media. And you can also email me if you have a question. Just email me, Lindsay at Wolf Digital Advertising. I know it's two separate names. We're in the process of moving over to Wolf Digital Media, so it's just, we haven't fully made the transition. But if you have a random question, like a specific strategy question or something that we didn't get a chance to cover, you can just email me. I'm happy to help answer anything. I love talking about this stuff and just giving, if you're already running ads and you just want a little advice or something. So yeah, Lindsay at Wolf Digital Advertising.
Awesome. Lindsay, thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate it greatly.
Yeah, this was so fun. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, you are welcome. Natasha, thank you for joining us. Excited to learn more about your company. And Allison, thank you for joining us too. And I'll see you all later. Take care.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.